Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Raphael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Raphael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Good morning, Shelly. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Exceptional. But you are way more exceptional. It is super early for you, and thank you so much for getting up super early to be here with us. Thank you.
I would not miss it for you. You know that.
You're the best. It's incredible when you meet someone and you feel the love right away, right? And to me, when I met you, it was like, wow, we knew we were heart-centered, both of us. You're in a happy relationship. That's not the kind of love I was talking about. I was talking about that we understand each other in a way where, you're so giving, and you're always full of love and life. And that's one of the things I love about you.
Well, thank you, because I agree. I think literally the second we met each other, I was like, I love this guy, right? And then we bonded within minutes, and here we are years later, and I love that about you too. I mean, your spirit and energy, which is great. You're so positive all the time, which I love because our world needs more of that. So I'm just so happy to be here with you, and always to see your successes and love what you do for everybody in the community.
Oh, thank you. When I think of you, I'm like, man, power in a beautiful package, right? That's what I see. But you've had so much go on in your life. You've done so much with your life. I would love to go back when you were 5, 6, running around. Where'd you grow up? I know a little bit about you, but I want to get to know a little more.
Yeah, no problem. I grew up in sunny Southern California, except for today, in rainy California. But I grew up in Southern California. I am the baby of 5. My next sibling to me is 8 years older. So they're 8, 10, 12, and 14 years older than me. So oops, here comes Shelly, right? My family was from Toledo, Ohio, and they moved to California before I was born. So I was the only California born and raised sibling. When I was 5 or 6 years old, I was super shy. I would not leave my mom's side. I was nervous all the time. I didn't do any sports. I was just one of those kids who loved to read, play. My siblings were older, so I had no siblings to play with. They didn't play with me, so I was very much, I played solitaire. I played board games by myself or with my mom, so spent a lot of time with my mom. My mom was pretty much my best friend my whole life. So that was a good childhood, but I was definitely very shy. I mean, everybody would think now, by knowing me and how outgoing I am, I was very much an introvert, and just quiet and shy. That's if anybody was going to describe me, that's probably what they would say. They'd be like, who? What? She was so quiet and shy.
For some reason, I love the crazy Disney movies or wherever they come from, but Kung Fu Panda, Master Oogway said, there is no accident. So you are not an accident. You came on purpose, my dear.
Well, it's funny you say that, because yes, both my parents have passed away, and I've been their executor. I've done their eulogies. Out of all these kids, they think somebody else would, but it's the baby. And my sisters say, well, God knew you had to come here because none of us were going to do it. So So it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
great. Yeah,
So you had a tough time a little bit this year because your mom did pass away recently, and
she did.
you're
Yeah.
such a powerful woman because you went through not only handling all of her affairs, but you still came to the mastermind and you were powerful.
Oh,
And yeah,
thanks.
I understand because I lost my mom not too long ago myself and my dad, a couple of years prior, but you came and you were vibrant and you were full of life and you understood and you shared with us your mom. And
Mm.
thank you for that. It was beautiful. And you also talked about, I have the book right here, right? The bus book, right?
Yeah, the energy bus. Yeah.
Energy Bus. It was a great book. And you're always sharing and you're always, your sister said something super important that God had a plan for you to
Yeah.
be here because you were the one that can handle it. Sure, they could have done it, but they probably wouldn't have done justice like you did.
I'm not sure they could have. Yeah. No, it,
You're a facilitator. You are the energy bus. That's how I see you.
yeah.
You are always looking out for other people. You are a mother to everyone, right? No matter who it is, you're always looking out for their best interests. What's going on? How's everything going on? Where did that come from? Because you had a great relationship with your mom,
Mhm.
but you didn't have siblings to take care of. How did
True.
you become that way?
I think I just watched my mom. I think
Mm,
that everything that we do as parents, because I'm a parent. I've got two grown adult children. They're going to be 33 and 31.
that's incredible
The
because you
second
look
part.
no more than 26,
I love you. You know that. Yeah, and I have a granddaughter who's going to be 12. So
What?
I think that I just got that nurturing side from her by watching. Our children watch every single thing that we do. They watch
Mm,
how we interact with people. They watch how we get up in the morning and get on with our day. If we're crabby, if we're, positive, they watch what we eat. They watch our activities.
mm.
They copy us. They mimic our languages, right? We know when you hear a child say something, you're like, whoa, that definitely didn't come out of a 2-year-old, but so I think really I did learn it from my parents, and both my parents were very hardworking. I mean, they did not have the best upbringing themselves, and their goal in life was literally to be the complete opposite of their parents,
Mm.
and it worked. So
That's beautiful.
my mom's mom was an alcoholic, and
Mm.
my mom at the age of 14 decided, I'm going to move out of the house. I'm going to get a studio apartment. I'm going to lie and say I was 18 so I could get a job at the bank. And she did. And she got a job, got her own apartment, and lived out on her own at 14 years old. And then she
Oh
met
my
my dad at
gosh.
14. I know, met my dad at 14, married at 16. And
Mm.
my mom just said, I will be the polar opposite of my mom. And she was. And I would never want to be the polar opposite of my mom. I wanted to follow in her footsteps. And she was a great mom, volunteered all the time, which was me. I was a room mom for everybody. I was, a hockey parent, every sport imaginable. I was there. So I just followed in her footsteps. I think that's really it. And they just honestly, like you said, the energy bus, reading. I read a lot, and I
Mm.
love reading positive things. I mean, that's what I do. So for me, I just think, what can I do? How do I want to show up in the world? How would I want somebody to show up for me?
Yeah.
So taking what my mom gave me, taking what my dad gave me, which was a little bit more the stubborn side, and creating just a life that I would be proud of.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Now I see where you get your power.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you followed in your mom's footsteps, but who would you say besides your mom was a big influence for you? Maybe not at 5, 6, but maybe later on that you said somebody spoke some wisdom into you, or you saw how they acted or their habits or something of that nature. Who would you say that was?
I think too, different points in life are different people, right?
Mm,
So as a kid, it was definitely my mom. I mean, I wanted to be like her and with her all the time. As I got older, I think I really became a lot like my dad. So my dad was very tenacious. That was his word, tenacity. So I kind of took that on, and I'm sure we're going to get into my health struggles a little bit. So once we get into that, you'll really see why my dad kind of came into play there. And he was a big influence in my life. Definitely a hero to a young girl. And then later in life, I mean, I'm totally inspired by my children. I want to give them a great life. I wanted to be there for them. So they inspire me. In martial arts, it was my instructor and my business partner now, Chris Casamassa. He really saw something in me that I didn't see in me at a point in time. So he definitely influenced me to where I am right now. And, now let's see, Ed Rush is a huge influence in my life. You know that. So there's just quite a few people. Kelly Murray, who was on with you earlier this week, absolutely adore her. She's the strongest woman I know. She influences me a lot as well. So many different people over periods of time in my life.
I know you looked at when I was like, where is you've written books also, and I think I was working with it. Oh, I know where it is. I'm going to get it in a minute or two. But not only did you have people who have influenced you in different aspects of your life, but different people you've influenced. You sometimes we think that we're influenced by them, but their influence is because of your actions, right? So I know you talked about Chris Casamassa, love the man. Ed Rush, love him. Everybody you spoke about, I know, thank God. And I love them all. They're incredible human beings, but I know it was not a one-way road, right? It was
Right.
two ways, because I know that you're influencing them. A lot of their decisions are based on what you're doing, how you're doing it, especially Chris Casamassa, because he speaks highly of you. I mean, there's no pedestal high enough that he can put you on. And I love the fact of the respect that he has for you. And he's an amazing human being, period. I mean, that's without a doubt.
Definitely.
But for him to speak so highly of you at all times, it's not just like just because he's trying to put, like a great presentation together.
Right.
But he'll say it at any given time. You'll catch him. You'll say, "What do you think about Shelly?" And he'll be like, "Oh my God, she's amazing." So yeah, I think it goes both ways.
Thank you.
They've influenced you for sure, but I know in retrospect, you've done the same for them.
Well, thank you. Yes.
It's true. It's true. So I want to get into how you even started to meet these individuals, right? Because I know the story, but your son Shane, incredible human being himself, right? And
He's
I
okay.
love his energy too. He's just incredible. And it was because of him that your life changed, wasn't it?
100%. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Shane was 7 years old and decided he wanted to do karate. And at that point in time in my life, I was running my family business, which was a boiler company, so plumbing company. Exciting for me. But it was a family business, and I was running that. And I was really sick. And I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit, but I was really sick. I was on bed rest. My son said he wanted to start karate. We got a little flyer at the local Christmas parade. And I said, okay, fine, let's go try it. And he was playing hockey at the time, and he was a goalie. So he was in, very high demand all the time. And we were just definitely spread very thin. And then we walked into Red Dragon, and I cannot say I loved it right off the bat. Let's just say that the instructor was not, he kind of was the bait and switch kind of guy, and I wasn't really happy. So my friend and I turned and walked out, and he chased us to the parking lot. And when he chased us to the parking lot, I was like, fine, we'll give it a chance. And then I met the owner, which was Chris Casamassa. Now I had met him previously when Shane was just like 2 years old, and I was the PTA liaison at our school because he was filming his How to Be an Action Star series. And so I met him then, and I thought, wow, this guy's pretty charismatic. I like it. If my kid ever wants to do karate, well, maybe we'll end up there. Well, we ended up there. So he had just taken over the school from his brothers, and I mean, the rest is history. Literally, Shane loved it. And I told him he had to choose between 2 different sports. It's like, you can't do both, honey. You got to choose one. So he chose karate, and it was the best decision that he made for our family in years, So it was great. And I was really sick at the time. And Chris was like, hey, I want you to come work for me. And I was like, I don't need to work there. What are you talking about? And his persuasion got me to agree to 2 half days and every other Saturday to help him out in the studio, because I was kind of the numbers girl. So he needed that. He needed that balance and that business side. I was very corporate, so it worked out in our favor, definitely. He made me sign a 1-year contract with him, and 23 years later, here we are. We're still together working and building up our studios. And we've got 3 new ones opening here in the next 90 days, and we're excited. So it's been a good thing. So yes, I blame it on Shane. So he's it's great working alongside him now too, which is great because Shane is a studio owner as well. So it's awesome.
That is incredible. What year was that? And you said Shane was 7. Let's not go into the year, because people know that you're still 26.
Yeah.
So,
he wishes he was 26. He'll be 31 this year.
Wow. Yeah. So you walked out. Like, this place is not for me, right? Bait and switch. That happens a lot in business, right?
Yep.
But that's not what Chris is about.
Nope, not at all. Total opposite.
So it was that pivotal point that you decided, okay, we'll give it a shot. Why?
Gut instinct, I guess. It's not the 7-year-old hanging on your leg saying, come on, please, mom, please, please, please. It was really gut instinct. I mean, once we went back in, I thought, okay, I have to at least give it a shot, right? Sometimes there's things that we don't know we're going to like until we try it. So we tried it. And within days, I knew it was the right place for my kids. Then my daughter joined soon after that. She joined probably about 4 or 5 months after Shane joined. And then I was later, but yeah.
So Shane is doing karate, and you're there. And then Chris asked you to join in. You're a black belt.
I am.
An instructor. You literally kick butt. So what motivated you to even take up putting on a uniform? And back in the day, people thought it was pajamas. It wasn't common for a woman, right? It was not common for a woman to step on the mat. Right?
Right. True.
Why? Why'd you do it?
Probably because I was told I can't. And that is one thing. If somebody tells me I can't do something, I'm going to show you I can do it. So when I was really sick, my doctors told me I would never do anything physical again, period. I would never. I was teaching fitness at the time. I was teaching jazzercise at the time. I had a franchise, and I was teaching 16 classes a week, and I got really sick. And when I got really sick, they said, you can't ever do anything physical again. And so I listened to that for a while, and I didn't do anything physical, and my health deteriorated. And there was a point in time where I just wanted to die because I was dying. The doctors told me I was dying. They said I was 28 years old when they told me I wouldn't make it to 40. My liver and my kidneys were failing. I have a heart condition, and all these things were happening. I was on bed rest for over a year. And that's at the time when I met Red Dragon and Chris. And I think he just got me on a good day. That was it. I loved the energy there. It just felt right. It felt right to be there. I worked for my family, and I love my family, but it's difficult to work for family. It really is. And my dad was tough. He was a Marine. My dad was a tough guy who he called it seagull management. When he came in, squawked, shit on everybody, and then flew away. So it was a tough upbringing. So I worked in that environment. That was really hard. And I was the only, myself and my assistant were the only 2 females. It was all, male dominated industry. Seems to be a pattern for me, but it just was not my happy place. I worked because I needed to work for them and to do it for the family, but it definitely wasn't my happy place. So when I went to Red Dragon, I felt good. There was positivity. There was a good energy in the room. Still didn't like that instructor, but the rest of it was good, and it just felt right to be there. Plain and simple. It just did. And so that was really a big turning point for me. So when he said, he would say, "Hey, Mrs. Toland," and I'd be like, "Oh no, don't try to be nice to me. You're going to make me do something I don't want to do." And he did. He's like, "Why don't you get out here? Let's take some kickboxing classes and let's try it." And I'm like, "Oh, my doctor said I can't." And he's like, "Let's just try it." Here I am. So, and trust me, he put up with me. I would faint during my lessons.
No way.
Yeah, I would faint. My last year of training from, my last brown belt to black, I had a heart condition that was acting up. And I would faint in the middle of lessons. I'd wake up to him saying, "Okay, we're done for the day." I'd just be staring at him.
Goodness.
I think I went to the hospital. I think I had 13 surgeries in a short period of time. And we were calling 911 right and left to come pick me up, or I was going to the ER, or somebody was taking me to the hospital, and it happened all the time. And so I just kept going, because at that point I wasn't giving up. I had tenacity like my dad. There was no way I was giving up. So it just was the right place to be. Anywhere else would have treated me differently for my problems, and they would have not pushed me to do what I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah. Do you believe that Chris pushing you like that actually helped you propel forward with your health?
100%. Saved my life. Yeah, it did, for sure. And I mean, I wanted to do it, obviously, for my children. My biggest thing was, I remember the morning waking up, and I looked, and I couldn't leave my house to go take my kids to school. My husband took my kids to school. And then when he came home, I just looked at him and said, "I am no good to you guys anymore. I feel like I'd be better off, you guys would be better off without me. I should just die." The second I said those words, I got out of bed. That was it. It's because my kids, being there for my kids, missing their school functions, missing their open houses, all that stuff, missing games, all that really was hard for me, because my mom was always there for me. So even though I was a very involved mom, there was a point in time where I had to step back, and that killed me. It did. I mean, there were days that I would get up, take them to school, come back, go to bed. There were days I'd drive to my office, which was an hour away, get some work, come home, go to bed. I couldn't make it to certain functions. One of my favorite stories was, my daughter was a Girl Scout, and she was bridging across the Golden Gate Bridge as kind of a little ceremony in San Francisco, California. And in order to get there, I couldn't eat for 4 days. I did not have a bite of food. I did not have a sip of water or anything, so that I could get in a plane, fly there, not be sick, stay with them, cross over the bridge. There's a picture of me where I'm the only parent kneeling on the ground because I couldn't stand up. I was so weak. Goodness. So being there for my kids was so important. So that was one driving factor. And then the other driving factor of really propelling me in my health is definitely the studio. It really was. So
what a powerful story when you think about, and I got your book, by the way.
There we go. There's one.
Beautiful book. And everybody should definitely pick it up, right? When we think about the next book you're going to write, I think you have to write how martial arts saved your life.
I think so too.
That would be a good title.
And that's a little bit in this one.
Oh, there you go. I like that one.
Yep.
Show it to us again.
Where's that? There we go. Pain-free.
Let me highlight you. Hang on. There you go.
There we go.
Pain, drug free. Yeah.
Yep. Pain-free, drug free. So this was the first book I wrote, actually, and it is kind of my story. And there is a big section in there about martial arts, because I was in the studio, and I was healthy, and I was teaching classes, and people would say, they had no idea what I was like before. And I would show them pictures, and they would just be shocked by that. And everybody would say, "You should write a book." So when my dad passed away, took some time, and I wrote a book, and I explained my story. So it's kind of my toolbox and my story of how I got to here today. So it's from the heart, that's for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. But pain-free, drug-free. Wow. That's just like, wow. When we think about, so many people are in pain, right? and then they do turn to drugs because drugs kind of numb it. It's almost like a Band-Aid. And but when you can be free of both, that's powerful.
It is. It is. I mean, when I was first, I wasn't quite diagnosed yet. I have lupus. So I wasn't diagnosed with lupus at this time when they started. I mean, you got to figure when I got sick, the internet was not super, popular. We still had that dial-up thing that would go on, And
You
and so
have mail.
you have mail. And I would go in and, check out books at the library, and I'd read about it because I knew there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know what. And the doctors had no clue because autoimmune disease it wasn't like a big hot topic then, And when my kids were little, I just would read and figure things out. And then one day when I was really sick, I was driving to work and I had a really bad panic attack. Now, backing up a little bit, doctors didn't know what it was. So all they did was give me steroids. And then I was taking steroids, which made my heart race. So then because I have a heart problem, but they didn't pay any attention to that. I have a heart problem. So my heart would race. So then they would give me, then I would get really bad anxiety. They give me anxiety drugs. Then the anxiety caused problems with my stomach. So then they gave me medication for my stomach. The stomach medication was a depression medication, but it's also good for the stomach. Well, it made me depressed because I wasn't depressed. So I just kept going down and down and down. And so I was on probably 15 different prescription drugs. I was sicker than ever because my body was not reacting to it. And I was driving to work one day, had a severe panic attack, got off the freeway, pulled into a little, it ended up being a little vitamin store, just stood there and stared at it. No idea how I ended up there. Walked in the vitamin store. A lady was super nice, took one look at me and goes, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." She put this little thing under my tongue. All the anxiety went away. Then she's like, "Well, we got to figure out what's going on with you." So she said, "Let's ditch all the drugs. Let's get you on some holistic stuff." And I started taking like a plant sterol. So instead of a steroid, I took that. I was taking some other things to help build up my immune system because I had no immune system at the time. I was getting sick all the time. I was overweight. My hair was falling out. My nails fell off. All my fillings in my teeth fell out. I was completely malnourished. I couldn't keep any food in me at all. I couldn't keep water in me at all. So I just wouldn't eat. And I wasn't skinny. I was in that, my body was in starvation mode. So it was holding on to anything I did put in. So I just got sicker and sicker and sicker. And then I started the holistic route and ditched all the drugs. And my doctor's like, "You're going to die. I don't give you much time. You're going to die." And I was like, "I'll take my chances." And here I am.
You took your chances because you felt better.
Felt better. Yeah. I didn't even feel better at that point. I did it because going holistic, especially from in the amount, I should say the level of illness I had. I mean, I was near death. And so it's like the thought of going holistic was probably crazy to everybody, but it made me sicker, but it was burning off everything. And then I slowly started to get better. I just felt clearer on it. My brain felt clearer on it. And that made me think, well, if I have a clearer brain, then I'm going to be able to work on myself more and make myself better. And so I just did. I mean, and I've done everything, man. I have cleaned out all the blood in my body. I've had all my blood removed and new blood put in. I've had treatment after treatment. I mean, chemotherapy they gave me for it in the old days. I was taking the malaria medication, which is also now known as the hydroxychloroquine, right? That everybody took for COVID. I was taking that and it made me really sick because they had me on super high doses of that. So when COVID came around, I was like, not taking that one.
No, absolutely not.
Too many bad memories with it. But yeah, I mean, there was just so many things that my doctor wouldn't do for me because they really didn't know. They just simply didn't know. And then, when I was training for my black belt, I was having all those problems. And when I got my black belt, I had told Chris I was taking some time off. And I said, "I need some time off to figure out what's going on with my health." And he's like, "Yeah, okay," knowing I'd be back in class on Monday. And I was. But I was going to take some time off. But that's actually when they finally diagnosed me. And literally the doctor's like, "Oh, gosh, you have something called lupus." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he's like,
"Finally, right?"
Yeah, that was it, though. It was a diagnosis. It didn't matter. It all was related to my lifestyle. Not that it was a bad lifestyle. I wasn't like crazy, but just that it mattered what I put in my body. It mattered what foods I ate, how I fueled myself, and what my environment was. Less stress. I had a super high stress job with my family. So we sold the business. And so there were lots of things that were contributing to that. And so the stress, the anxieties, all that stuff slowly started to go away because I started to take care of myself in a different way.
Yeah.
So,
It's very interesting when we think about medicine and the Chinese medicine compared to the Western or the Eastern medicine, if you will,
right.
because it's very interesting when you talked about that somehow you found yourself in front of this store and it was a vitamin type of store.
Yeah.
I used to go to a vitamin store in Little Italy in the East Village in New York City. I used to work in the East Village, and there was this vitamin store. I just walked into it one day, and I walked in because one of my friends was going there, so I went with him. And then the pharmacist in the back, they were not pharmacists. I'm like, okay, this is kind of a weird store.
Yeah.
And then they said, we'll introduce you to Raphael. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And all they did is they shook my hand and then they flipped my hand over and started looking at my nails.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is
like,
going on here? Why are you looking at my nails? And then they're like, oh, you need more calcium. You need this. You need that. You need this. And this is back when I was in my 20s. And I was like, why do I need all this stuff? I eat good. I work out every day, the whole deal. They're like, good, but you're deficient in certain things. So let's get you caught up. So I started taking vitamins, not medications, vitamins that maybe my body was not having. So yeah, when you think of the holistic approach, a lot of vitamins are the way foods is processed now, they're really taken out of it, right? So if that's why they say when you eat off the farm, it's the best food you can have. Once it leaves the farm, man, you're in trouble.
It's
Right?
true. It's true. Yeah. And you're right. And that was one thing you and I had in common from the get-go. I mean, as soon as we started talking, we were like, oh my gosh, are we related?
Yeah.
It's like so perfect. I agree too. And there was this test I took, and I remember the naturopath I use now, and who's really a dear, dear friend of mine now. I mean, we can't even say it's like a business relationship anymore. It's a friendship. But I remember the first time I met her, she took over a little clinic that was local to me, and she had this little machine. And it looked like a little mouse, like a computer mouse. She said, stick your hand on here. It's called a Zyto machine. Stuck my hand on it. And she, within minutes, read to me all the things that were wrong with me. And they were right. It was everything that I had been battling for years. And it was right. And so then it gives you those biomarkers that tells you, you need this, this, and this, and it's going to, make all these things great. And there was one thing she told me I had, which was a genetic mutation with the MTHFR gene. And she said, you don't absorb folate, you don't absorb B12. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Got on those supplements, felt like $1 million. One single supplement. And I remember going to my doctor and saying, hey, I have this. And she's like, oh, you don't have it. I ran a test. You don't have it. Then I had a genetic test just within 6 months ago, and I have that same gene. So her little test detected something that a genetic swab could, but my doctor couldn't detect it. So I do believe in doctors, love them. I still go to them. But my doctors now know, they'll say, well, this is what I think you should do, but you should go to your naturopath and find out. So it's like, I'll get my labs and then I take them there. But now it's crazy because at one point in time with everything not functioning, kidneys, liver, all that, and you obviously can't live without that stuff. And I mean, I remember the first time I got my lab work done that the doctor said to me, everything's in range. And I was like, what? They're in range? It's been 20 years. What do you mean it's in range? And now every doctor I see is like, I've never seen such perfect labs. All I take are supplements, nothing special about them. They're just supplements. I take care of myself. I eat right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
One of the things that I love that you do constantly, not only in your incredible book, where you're teaching people, the Healthy Habit Tracker and Motivational Guide, great book, but you go way beyond where on your Facebook, you're always sharing recipes, right? Constant. And they're amazing, delicious. You're always constantly sharing these recipes with people as an alternative. You do it for the football season,
I do.
for Easter. You do it for everything,
Sure.
and you always like, here's an alternative. You want to eat this junk? Don't eat the junk. Eat this. It's healthier and it tastes good, and
Mhm.
it does, and it does. Why? Why do you go out of your way to do that?
Well, because I wasn't feeding myself right. And I also
Mm,
know that celebration is important. And like when I coach my clients, I don't teach perfection because none of us are perfect. If it's your
mm,
child's birthday, you want a piece of birthday cake, go for it. It's a celebration. Now, don't take a whole cake into your bedroom and sit and eat it in the dark and pretend that nothing happened. And I've been so perfect on my diet, right? It
mm,
can't be that. I teach them that it's progress over perfection. So even to have a slice of cake versus two slices is it's progress, right?
mm,
So I try really hard to show people that you can take Super Bowl recipes, the 7 layer dips and junk and all that crap, and still have a really good meal. I did a Super Bowl meal for our family a couple years ago, and I made enchiladas without any corn tortillas, and no one even noticed. They were a
yeah.
chicken enchilada, and it was one of my healthy recipes. And I made this little dip to go with it, and all these other things, and no one even noticed that there was no gluten, no sugar, no
Mm,
crap. We had good protein, we had vegetables, we had healthy fat, and then we had some of the good stuff. But I just think that it's all moderation, right? Our society is just so full of quick fixes, and yes, I can coach a quick fix in a heartbeat. But quick fixes meaning like, oh, I could go to McDonald's and grab my food. I'll sit in line for 10 minutes at McDonald's to get my food instead of going home and whipping up a quick stir fry that can take me less than 10 minutes to do, you
mhm.
know? And there's so many times I'll even think that way. I'm just going to order something from DoorDash, Uber Eats, because I don't want to do it. And I'm like, nope, you have something you can cook. So get up and do it. And it takes less time. So it's like I'm trying to teach people that it's easy. It's easy to eat healthy. And it's so important to because our bodies need it. And you guys, we have one body. We have one chance at this, right? And
It's
I
a
mean,
beautiful thing.
it's a beautiful thing. We have one chance. And my body was not good. I mean, it was, yes, I was overweight. I was on Ambien every night to sleep because my
Mm,
lupus hurt so bad. And I got up to 2 pills a night. I take nothing now to go to sleep. If I need melatonin, it's a rare night just because I'm amped up on, my life. Like I've got a new idea. That's what keeps me up at night. A new idea, a new book, a talk coming up, something like that. That's what keeps me up. But really we have one chance at it. So I want people to have options. I want them to know that there's other things out there, that you don't have to have your mom's tuna casserole. I love my mom's tuna casserole. Ugh. Now when you think about it, but probably in the 70s, we had that stuff. But I make a healthier version. It's like I make my mom's mac and cheese in a healthier way. All these things that were like childhood favorites that people will say to me, I can't give that up because I love that. Well, I found alternatives for me that make me feel good. I go back
mm,
to the old stuff sometimes because I want it, and that's okay. And then I
yeah.
remember how much it makes my body hurt or feel
Right.
gross.
Right.
So
Yeah.
sometimes we take for granted that, our bodies are healthy because there's going to be a point when if we keep doing what we do to them, it's not going to be healthy. So take care of it while you have it. So there's got to be some options for people because I want people to celebrate and enjoy life. I'm a foodie. I love food. So I
Yes.
want it to taste good and I want it to be good because I want to feel good with it. It should be a celebration with it. So that's why I do it.
What I've said to some clients, I said, hey, every time you go through the drive-through, drive by the cemetery.
Yeah, good idea.
Because
Good idea.
that's what you're doing. Or just take a picture of a coffin with you
Yeah,
every time you order fast food, because that's what you're doing. You're
that
just
is so
getting
true.
closer to that place where you're trying to avoid, right? Or you think you're doing the right thing. And you're right, 1,000%. Yeah, once in a while it doesn't hurt. But daily, no,
Oh yeah.
no, that's where the pain comes in. Let me ask you, Chris didn't just see a mom who brought her child in. He didn't just see somebody who fainted before they became black belt over and over and said, okay, we're done for today. He saw something different in you that we all see now. He saw the powerful woman before us, before we all did.
Mhm.
When and how did you decide that I want to be part of this, that I want to get into this entity that he keeps trying to convince me, because I've heard the story 1,000 times that he kept throwing his cowboy rope, he threw it around you and somehow you got out, but you
Yeah.
eventually said yes to Chris.
I'm like Houdini, right? I was like, nope, not going to do it. I'll have an excuse for it to get out of it. You know, it just felt right. That's just it. Again, like one thing my dad always taught me was you go with your gut. And then I think there was a book later called Blink about it, right? It's like that first instinct, you know what it is. I told my dad, you should have wrote this book. That was you. But it was always go with your gut. And when I don't go with my gut, it always bites me in the butt later. And there'll be times, even because Chris is a dreamer. He is like, we're going to go do this. And we're going to do that. And I'm the like, whoa, tiger, hold back for a little bit. But usually he's right. But if I really have like something deep inside me saying, I really think this is a bad idea, like we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, we shouldn't spend it here, we shouldn't do, whatever it is, then now he listens to me, because usually I'm right. Because I think women have an intuition. I mean, and here, I can't even just say women. Martial artists have an intuition that we develop over time, but women have it naturally. Men don't necessarily have that same intuition that women have. It's a different intuition that men have naturally. But from all the men I know in martial arts, I see this same intuition that women have in them. So I think it's really a great tool that we can develop. But that intuition women have, it's like we just know when something feels right and feels wrong. If a woman's walking down the street and they feel like there's a man looking at them wrong, they should listen to that. If their gut's saying, hey, like turn around and go somewhere else, go. I was raped when I was 16 years old. I didn't use my intuition. I let somebody talk me into things, right? So when we really can listen to that gut, then you know what to do. So I think that's really what made me go there. I needed a change in my life. I had no idea it would ever be martial arts. Now, I went to the same martial arts studio when I was probably in my early 20s. My kids were going in, they were young, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go and I want to get some lessons. I couldn't stand his brothers. I love them now. They're friends of mine. But at the time, I was like, man, these guys don't make me feel good. It was old school martial arts. It was very different than it is today. And even then I came in on the tail. I mean, I was in during the old school martial arts time too, but really back then it was very different. And I just didn't feel comfortable with it. So I didn't go. And I listened to myself there, but then I still went back to it. So something still drew me into it. So I think it's just that. I mean, I think the universe sometimes just has a funny way of putting you in situations. And one big one for me is that I am shy. I mean, I'm still that 5 and 6 year old inside. And, it helped me come out of my shell, having to get up and perform in front of people. And then working at the studio and being, Shion Chris Casamassa, who's a 10th degree black belt, being his student, his direct student. I got the whispers as I walked by, oh, here she comes. Let's see what she can actually do. Right. I'm a woman. I'm older. I'm not an 8-year-old kid who's a superstar. My leg doesn't get up there like, those kids do. So it was very different training in that sense. So I think that it was just this big, massive universe pulling me together. And, even coaching, I had no desire to coach. I didn't think I had anything good to say until I started helping people when I was teaching the fitness classes. Because of course I went back to teaching kickboxing and I teach yoga, and I was teaching classes and people were like, oh, it's a great idea. Then we started running challenges and people were losing weight and people were feeling better and they were sleeping better and their energy was better. And then I wrote the book. Didn't think that would even be a thing. I wrote the book, and remember being so nervous the day that came out, just be like, oh my God, people are going to know my story. I grew up in a home where you didn't tell people your story. Like when I was raped at 16, my parents were like, oh, well, we're not going to talk about it. And that's what happens. So when you grow up in that environment, like sharing your story was hard. And really Ed Rush, Mike Canings, and Chris made me share my story. That's just history. It's great. I love helping people. I love telling my story. I love really getting deep into it. I mean, we aren't even deep in my story. My story is something. You got to read the book.
That's right. We have to read the book.
I got to read the book to find it all out. But yeah, it's, I love sharing it. It's great. Love helping people. It really is it fills my cup. That old saying, it fills my cup to help people. When somebody calls me and says, I went on a roller coaster for the first time today with my kids because they finally could fit in the roller coaster. Or I had the energy to hike up to the top of the mountain with my kids. Those things to me give me goosebumps. have them right now. So, I mean, just to hear the stories from people just fill my cup, period.
That's beautiful. You know, you are literally, when I come to a mastermind, and there you are, and I get there early,
Yes,
that,
you do.
and I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I help? But you have it all under control. You are so organized. I think the success of the mastermind is because of your organizational skills, but also the care that you take into. I mean, you and Chris are like a super powerful team. But when I walk into the room, you know exactly. And here's one of the things that you do, and you cater to everybody's whim, and that's tough because you asked me, what do I want? I didn't even think of it, and I said, you always give me fruit or something like that. And one time I said, strawberry sounds good. You said, fine. Meanwhile, you should have told me you're allergic. You couldn't even be in the room with strawberries, and you still got me strawberries. And I was like, oh my God, you had to like wear gloves and all this stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I would never have put you through it. But you didn't even say, hey, I'm allergic. You didn't. You went above and beyond, which I would have been happy to say anything else would have been fine. But you didn't. And you go out of your way to make everybody feel amazing.
Well, thank
And
you.
and and I can see that's how you got that from your mom for sure. But that's a
Yep.
powerful skill, or not even skill, just a way of being that you have about you, where everybody walks into the room. And I go to my place where I'm gonna sit, and there's whatever it is that you put for me. And I'm like, oh, she took time, she took an effort. But I don't know if everyone in the room sees that. I think at this point they take it for granted, right? They're like, oh yeah, I was expecting that. Instead of like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Yeah, you know how
Um,
hard it is to find half those things?
you told me one time you went to like 8 stores to find a
I was like,
particular drink for someone.
yeah, I was like, wow, okay. I think it's actually the joke now. I'm like thinking, are you messing with me with this idea, or is this like really what you do want?
Yeah, yeah. But you make everyone feel super, super special. And that's why I got to be honest, when I see you guys in person, I truly, truly, when I see you and Chris, I feel like I'm home. And I was the fastest one that ever signed up.
Yep,
But
you
it
were.
was no brainer for me because of the people in the room, of what I felt from you, what I felt from Chris. Immediately, I was like, how can I not belong here? And even sometimes I feel like I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I feel like I'm an outsider,
Mm,
and I go, wait a minute, I got the wrong feeling here. I'm not an outsider. This is family.
it's
This is
family.
the people that I love. But sometimes we don't see each other or whatever, and then I come in and I feel like, should I step in? Should I step out? Should I? And I'm like, you know what? I'm
Step
being
in, jump
silly. I'm
on
being
it with
silly,
hugs.
right? But yeah, you make us all feel super, super amazing. Can I share something with you that we're doing in New York?
Yes,
All right,
of
let's share it
course.
with everybody. Here we go.
Yes. And I forget those other people.
Heroes Rising Apex is the highly anticipated business event of the year. This gathering of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, and visionaries promises to be a game-changing experience that will inspire, educate, and provide networking opportunities. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of innovation, strategy, and collaboration as we embark on an unforgettable journey of learning, growth, and success. Join us in New York on July 14th through the 16th. Go to heroesrisingapex.com for tickets.
What do you think?
I'm excited. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's an event that I'm doing with Jose Escobar, who used to work for EFC.
Mm-hmm.
Is it EFC? Yeah, I think so. He left them, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and it's a culmination of me bringing exceptional people like you. And if there's any way I can get you to New York, I'm going to want you there, right?
Pretty sure I already heard about it and stuck it on my calendar because I wanted to be there for it. So
What? Yes, yes, yes. That'll be incredible, incredible. I definitely would love to have you there. And you share such valuable information that every time somebody sees you speak, or I'm going to say me for sure, I take 1,000 notes. I'm always writing when you're talking, and I'm always like, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. Because you always bring fresh ideas, concepts. And this is why I love business combat, right? And anybody listening, if you're a martial artist, you need to be part of business combat. I want to talk to you about Warrior Soul.
Mm-hmm.
I love the name because you are a warrior and you bring your soul into it. So it's a perfect mix of that. Tell us how that started, because it's not Red Dragon,
Mm-hmm.
it's Shelly. Tell us about that.
Just Jack, right? Yes, that's
Just
Jack. It is. So yeah, like I said, I was teaching fitness for years. So I've been held my daughter 30, so 32 years I've been teaching fitness classes. And when I started with Red Dragon, I took over the kickboxing and I liked it. Did it for years, but it just felt like it was missing a little something. I felt like it was a lot of the regular things we see, the regular advertising we see for kickboxing inside of a martial arts school. We see the girl who's all tough and skinny and, ripped and never had a child, and,
Right.
and super tan and all slimy. And she's got her hands up and, that's the sex sells looking kickboxing girl. But really it's moms, it's people in the community that I was looking at. And I thought, you know what, my clientele is very different than the pictures that we have on our windows. And so I made a deal with them and I said, hey, I'm going to do this challenge with you guys. And then I'm going to take some pictures and they're going to become the new pictures on the front because, I'm 52 years old. So let's do a real picture of what a person should look like. So as we started to do that, I really saw the dynamic in our studio change. And, the big joke was I actually took those pictures and then there ended up being this one picture that I never wanted to use and I was too embarrassed to put up there, but it ended up becoming the cover of my original book. And there's a whole nother story there for another time. But I really changed the dynamic because I started to let people know, like, we're not all about these 18-year-old girls who look all fit and that in there. It's about coming in there and doing what you can do, what your abilities are. I've got people who have injuries. We have people with a lot of people with autoimmune, obviously, because they're drawn to the fact that, I have autoimmune. So I have people who have a lot of limitations. And I really wanted to make it be a place that was safe, and not that our studio wasn't safe, but I just felt like I wanted to be powerful, but I wanted to bring in that like nurturing side of me and that soulful side. And the name just felt right. So we took Warrior Soul and made that the brand for our Red Dragon Fitness kickboxing classes. And it's also been expanded into some other studios that aren't Red Dragon. So it is expanding out in the world. So we have a lot to do with wellness and health too. We do these challenges. I'm starting a little black dress challenge on Monday for so it's a lot of fun. The ladies love that because at the end we get together and we actually take some pictures in our little black dresses doing kickboxing, and it's a lot of fun. But it's just I just softened up the martial arts kickboxing classes and made them a little bit better. They're still tough. But we've brought in some other things. We brought in some yoga because yoga is a great complement to any martial arts training and kickboxing and fitness. So we brought in some yoga, brought in some cardio drumming, which is great and therapeutic for people. I have some people with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, they come in. And so we've got some different kinds of classes going. So we just kind of really wanted to soften up that brand and make it more, I can't even really say user friendly. It's definitely a little bit more on the feminine side, but then that warrior, I have all marketing for the men too. So I've got the warrior side too, and our logos for the guys, logos for the girls. So it's worked out great. I have a great team of people. We've really just developed a strong brand, and it's just growing and it's exciting, and so Warrior Soul is also my coaching. I just finally decided to make it all my tentacles that came off of me are now Warrior Soul. So it just felt right. The name felt right. That's it. Just grew from there.
Incredible, incredible. You know, I did enjoy the pictures of yoga with the goats. That looked
Yes,
like
I love
so much fun.
It's a blast. That is actually my best lead magnet is my goat yoga. So
Mm.
goats, okay, I have 2 goats that come in and we do an amazing fun class. We do goat selfies after, and I usually do mimosas, of course, mimosas in the morning. So they love it. I mean, I draw in 40 to 50 people a month for my class, and
Wow.
most of them are from the community. My students have done it so many times. They're like, whatever, they're just goats. Bring in the dogs. That's what they want now.
Dog yoga. A Chihuahua yoga.
Exactly. No, they need the big dogs for that.
The
But
big
yeah,
dogs.
goat yoga is a blast, and they enjoy it, and it really is a great lead magnet for the community.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. It sounds like and I love the fact that, and you talked about it, because every fitness program we've ever seen is some young person, ripped abs, and that's
Yeah.
it. And it's the same pose, and it's the silly thing, and it looks incredible,
It's
but it's
intimidating.
not real.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not real. That's a paid model,
Yep.
right?
He probably
And
has no idea how to kick.
correct,
Right?
correct, correct. Do you know how many people I've had who claim to be instructors and want to come teach my class? I said, okay, great. Take a class. Let me see how you move.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, thanks for coming.
So true.
Unless the only way I will ever let you teach my classes is if you do 3 months of my classes and then you learn how to really do the stuff, then we
Mhm.
can talk.
Right.
But a lot of people, yeah, they look good, but can
Right.
they play the part?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's it. It's intimidating for the average mom who is
Mm,
really our clientele when it comes to that. I mean, we're not getting these 18-year-old college students coming in the door. We're getting our community of moms, grandmas, people who stay at home, or people who are, professionals, whatever. They just need to get healthy. They want a community too. And
yeah.
that's the difference. We used to go to the studio, do class, and leave. Now we have a community. And that's what they say. We love the community. They love to be able to walk in the door. And if they're like, oh my gosh, you weren't here last week, where were you? And it's from the other students, not from the instructor. So really developing that community and kind of softening up that side of martial arts has made such a difference in our studios, at least.
Yeah. We have a girl, her name is Tony Ann. She comes in, she goes, I love this place. It's like Cheers. Everybody knows your name,
True.
and just that statement alone goes to show the community, right?
Mhm.
Where people, a lot of my members have been with me 20 plus years.
Yeah, it's awesome. It
And
goes
it's,
to show
yeah,
you've got that nurturing side too. See, you
yeah,
make everybody feel special. And
yeah.
that's kind of what I always wanted to feel. I always hated going to a business event when I was the plus one, and
Mm,
I felt like the plus one. And it's like, I don't want the plus ones to ever feel that way. So when it comes to mastermind, I want everybody to feel good. I want everybody, they traveled far. You guys
mm.
traveled far. You're coming from New York to California half the time. So you travel far to come see us. And I'm so happy and genuinely happy to see you. I want to make you feel special because you are family.
Aw,
It's important.
thank you, thank you. You know, I know we're wrapping it up, but I think we're gonna have to do another one for sure, because there is so much that we can dive into. We've only touched the top layer of who you are, the powerful type of woman you are, how you put all these things together. Yes, you are partners with Chris, but when it comes to you, your thinking process, what you've been through has made you more than resilient. It's made you a force in the martial arts community. And if you come to New York, my God, I will be like blown away. So I definitely want you there.
I'm excited. I plan on being there.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Good.
We have to talk more.
Yes, we
Thank
do.
you again for taking the time to getting up super early for me. What? Now, I
Now I'm going to take a
feel,
nap.
I am super blessed to know you, by the way.
Yes, I feel the same way about you. Yes.
Oh,
And there's
thank
no
you.
time for a nap after this. I have a yoga class to teach.
There you go. There you go. Hey, guess what? I'm going to see you in Florida.
I know.
Everybody,
Wait.
if you're interested, DM me, DM Shelly. come to the Business Combat Mastermind
Yep.
the 18th through the 20th, right? Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just come. It's going to be a blast.
And yep, in Florida. I mean, how can you beat that? Nice sunny weather. It's gonna be gorgeous. Right
And
on the
it's going to
water.
be
Oh,
a beautiful resort, 50
It
feet
is.
from the beach.
Perfect.
All right.
Yep. I
Love
love
you,
it.
girl.
Love you too. Thank you so much for having me on.
You got it.
Great
Talk to you
seeing you.
soon.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
Take
All
care.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.